Are you looking to expand your arsenal with those sweet Tenet weapons with innate status effect, or maybe you just want to get your hands on your very own Hound companion? Well, then it's time to do your sisters, the Tenet Sisters, also called the Sisters of Parvos. And well, I'm Tipsy, and today we'll be going over everything you need to know about hunting your Tenet Lich and acquiring the Tenet weapons together with the Hound companion. So remember to like the video and subscribe, and let's just get right into it. So the Tenet Lich Sisters are the Corpus equivalent of the Liches, also called the Sisters of Parvos, which are a special mini-boss you can activate, and then it will log itself onto a specific planet just like the Liches. But they will instead start from Venus, where they will then steal a portion of the credits you have earned from missions in their controlled territory instead of resources. They will continue stealing credits on the given planets until you actually complete the correct sequence, where the sister will then flee to a railjack mission and you can finish them off, and get back all your stolen credits and obtain both the Tenet weapon that you have chosen, but also get a Hound companion. So this system is very much aligned with the Liches, but the Tenet Liches does have some extra special things about it, such as how you actually start the Tenet Lich is a little bit different, and you also get the bonus of obtaining a Hound companion as well, which you can then craft once you have completed the Lich. And remember, you can only have one active Lich at a time, so if you have either a Kuva or Coda Lich, you will need to complete those Liches first before you can actually begin your Tenet Lich hunt. And if you have an active Lich, you should be able to see a little red, blue or green icon down in the bottom right side of your navigation screen, where here you will be able to see your active current Lich, and if you click on it, you will then be taken into your active Lich view, where you can get the information on your current Lich. And if you don't see this little button, then that means you probably don't have an active Lich at the moment. So first up, to actually get a Tenet Lich, so you need to have completed a quest called the War Within, but also the quest called the Tempestari, and also have Mastery rank 5. So overall, getting a Tenet Lich to spawn in is a little bit different compared to the Liches, as we will need to have a Granum Crown, go into the Granum Void, which can be found in any above level 20 Corpus ship tile sets at the Golden Hands, but not in Fisher missions or Syndicate missions. Inside this Granum Void, you will need to do at least rank 1 Nightmare difficulty, and once completed and out of the Granum Void, you have a chance to encounter a Tenet Sister candidate. Taking them down and mercy killing them will activate the Tenet Sister Lich, and you will then begin your Tenet Lich hunt. Just like the Liches, instead of a larvaling, you just spawn in a candidate instead, and you will have to do something to spawn it in. Also keep in mind, you do not have to mercy kill the Tenet Lich candidate, as only mercy killing it will actually spawn in the Lich with the weapon shown above its head. So if you actually down the candidate and see a weapon you don't like, just skip it and run out of the mission. And the neat little trick to this is that the weapon displayed above the Lich is actually random, but if you extract from the mission and complete the mission without actually creating the Tenet Lich, as in you do not mercy kill the Lich, the weapon will not show up again until you have completed the Lich completely or have gone through the entire Tenet weapon pool. So you can use this method to target farm the correct Tenet weapon you are looking for. Also, the Progenitor Bonus is pretty important as well, so we will cover that in a bit. Firstly, to enter the Granum Void in the correct version for the Liches to actually spawn in a candidate, we will need the Zenith Granum Crown, which is a level 30 plus mission drop from an enemy that can spawn in any of the airship tile sets called Treasurer. And he is a random enemy that can spawn in those missions. When you then kill this Treasurer, they will drop a Granum Crown, and they can come in 3 different tiers, so doing the mission depending on the level will get you a certain tier of the Granum Crown. So we'll need to do the Corpus ship missions on Neptune or Pluto to get them, as they should be above level 30. So just head into any Corpus ship missions, play through them, at some point the treasure should spawn in, and killing him will then drop the Granum Crown you can then pick up from him. And once you then have your Zenith Granum Crown, they can be used on the Golden Hand statues, which you can find in the Corpus ship missions, which will then open up the Granum Void instance for the entire squad. Also make sure it is the Zenith Crown that you are using to actually open up the gate, as that is the one that spawns in the sister candidate if you actually complete at least stage 1 in the Nightmare Granum Void instance, started at the Golden Hands to spawn in your Tenet Sister candidate. Inside this Granum Void, you want to eliminate at least 25 enemies, plus 25 per additional squad member in the mission. So I recommend doing it on solo, so you only need to do 25 kills. Also, picking up the small little pyramids that can be found or dropped from the Granum Void will add additional time, so you have a longer time to actually complete your goal. Also, if you have the Exorus weapon equipped, you can then stack up charges on enemies you kill, and you can then use a fully charged Exorus to actually heavy attack and detonate near a Trap Solaris guy, and this will add 20 seconds to your mission time as well inside this Granum Void. Once you have gotten your 25 kills in the instance or have completed it completely, you will then be teleported out of the Void instance, and a sister candidate should now spawn inside your mission. And from here it works just like the Kuva Larvling. You'll just have to wait a little bit and the sister candidate will spawn in. So now you can defeat the candidate to see which weapon it rolls above his head, and it will be a random Tenet Lich weapon from the pool you have. And if you extract from the mission, the weapon shown above its head will be taken out of the current pool, until you have gone through the entire pool of all of the Tenet weapon, or have completed the Lich, so you can use this method to target farm the Tenet weapons you are looking for. And also remember, before you mercy kill the Tenet candidate, to take a look at which elemental bonus connected to the Warframe as seen here. The Warframe used to mercy kill the Tenet candidate will be linked to the Warframe, and it will be given the Progenitor bonus, which will then roll a random number between 25 to 60%, which is how much elemental bonus the weapon will have innately. This is the equivalent of a random status mod with the same percentage basically. So the higher the better, but if you roll low, you can still farm to actually rise that number, which we'll cover in a bit. So using Necros to mercy kill the candidate will give you a toxin status effect on the weapon, and also a chance for the Ephemeras for toxin, while doing the mercy kill with Ember instead will give you a heat status effect on the weapon and a chance for the Ephemeras with heat status on it instead. Also, a sister has about a 20% chance to spawn in with a Ephemeras matching the Progenitor element, so if you're farming cosmetics, pay attention to your chosen Progenitor frame so you actually know which element you are getting. Most players farm either heat or toxin depending on the weapon they are building, since those are elements tends to fit in the largest number of endgame builds, but they can't be changed later on once you actually max out the weapon. Now, if you did get unlucky and rolled a low elemental bonus on your weapon, there is a mechanic called the Valence Fusion that lets you work towards raising the percentage on your weapons which cap out at 60%. Valence Fusions combine two of the same Kuva, Tenet or Coda weapons into one with a higher elemental bonus, multiplying the highest bonus of the two weapons by 1.1. So it's idea to actually save up a few weapons of the same type before you combine them, so you know you can start with the highest weapon first. You can find the Valence Fusion under the Actions button inside the modding menu screen on the weapon. From there you can then choose another Kuva, Tenet or Coda weapon matching the same type, and the elemental effect doesn't matter here. If you pick one weapon with a different elemental effect, you will be prompted to choose which of the two weapons you want to keep. Also keep in mind that the Orichan, Catalyst, Foamer, everything you have put into the weapon so far do not carry over, so be sure to actually use the weapon that you have invested in if you did invest in it. Once you then reach Warframe 99 and the Hex faction, and you hit rank 5 with them, you can also pick up something called the Elemental Vice from Eleanor. The Elemental Vice can be applied to a max rank Kuva, Tenet or Coda weapon, meaning the weapon has 5 foamers and has reached level 40. Applying the Elemental Vice lets you freely choose the elemental bonus on the weapon, so if you want a heat, just choose heat, and if you later then want to switch to toxin, you can do that. It's pretty nice quality of life, but it does require a maxed out weapon. So in short, use your Valence Fusion to raise your elemental bonus percentage, and use the Elemental Vice to freely change your elemental bonus. So before we start hunting or Tenet Lich, just like the Kuva Lich, we will need to have the required Requiem mods needed to hunt the Lich. There are 9 Requiem mods in total, but we only need to farm 8 of them. The last one can only drop from killing and completing a Lich, and it works kind of like a wildcard mod that counts as any of the other 8 Requiem mods, and you can only have one of these equipped at a time, which is called the Owl Requiem mod. So it's a good idea to farm all 8 before you start, so you're sure you have what you need when you actually begin the hunt. To get Requiem mods, we need something called the Requiem Eterna Relics, which contain all 8 mods and work kind of like the Fisher Relics, and you can run a mission, then collect the reactants and get a random reward from the relic. There's also the older Requiem mods, which only contain 2 Requiem mods in them in the uncommon tier, and these can be found at Paladino and Iron Wake after completing the Chains of Harrow quest. But the Requiem Eterna Relics, which contain all 8 mods, drop from Kuva Siphon and Kuva Flood missions upon completion, and these missions can be found in the Alerts tab in the navigation screen. The Kuva Siphon missions has a 50% chance to reward a relic upon completion with or without completing the Kuva objective. So if you just want to speed through it, go in solo, clear the mission without doing the Kuva objective to finish the mission faster. While the Kuva Flood missions, where enemies are a little bit harder, has a 100% chance to drop a Requiem Eterna relic upon completion. So just go in, complete a few Kuva missions, get those relics, and then run them in Kuva Fisher missions found in the Fisher tab with those Kuva icons to open the Eternia relics. You're guaranteed to get one of the 8 mods for each relic you open, and if you play with a full squad, you can also pick from the teammates reward, so it should be pretty easy to collect all 8 Requiem mods you need. And as these videos do take some time to make, it would be greatly appreciated if you remember to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the channel out a lot, and let me know in the comment if there's something else you'd like to see covered in another video. So now with the Requiem mods in stock and the Tenet Sister Lich waiting to be hunted down, we can begin the hunt. Once you have gotten your Tenet Lich from the candidate, the Lich can then be seen by the little red, blue or green icon. In this case, the Tenet Sister, which we should have gotten from the candidate, should be a blue icon on the navigation map at the bottom right side. While you have a Tenet Sister Lich active, they will influence nodes across planets like the Kuva Lich does, but the Tenet Sister will not steal resources, instead they will steal credits instead. So you're now being taxed by the sisters at this moment when doing missions in the influenced areas. This can be seen by the fog covering the planet and the nodes on the planet where they have influence at, and inside these these missions you can find a new enemy type called the Hounds, which are kind of like the Couvrafrals, but for the Tenet Sisters instead. They spawn inside the missions influenced by the Sisters, and you can then kill them to gain progress towards finding out which of the Requiem Mods are needed to finish off your Tenet Sister Lich. So once you begin farming the Tenet Sister influenced missions, you will happen upon the Hounds to progress your knowledge of the correct Requiem Mods needed to kill your Tenet Sister. While farming Hounds for the progression, they will also have a chance to actually drop Requiem Relics, so you naturally should build up a little stockpile of relics while you're hunting your sisters. But you will also start angering your sister, and this is where the rage meter comes into effect. You can see it by inspecting the Lich from the navigation menu, and the Lich should have 5 different stages of anger, going from indifferent to annoyed, to fuming, to furious, and finally enraged. The rage meter represents how likely it is for your Lich to actually show up in an influenced mission, and the angrier the Lich is, the more likely she is to show up in the mission. Also recommend that if your Lich does show up in a mission before you have equipped the known mod or know the first mod for this, to just wait it out and don't hit it, as hitting the Lich would have a 1 in 8 chance of getting the correct mod right on the first hit, but 1 in 8 is very low not knowing the right mods and the right locations. So just wait it out until you actually know the first mod. And also, failing to hit the right mod will reset the rage meter, level up the Lich making it even harder, and it will progress towards the next planet making it harder to deal with. So without equipping known Requiem mods, you are essentially guessing blind, which could be a waste of a stab attempt. Therefore, your first goal should be to gather enough knowledge from the Hound so you know at least one correct Requiem mod before starting to stab it. Now once you have done a few runs and have gotten some knowledge about the Requiem mods, you should start noticing that inside the Inspect Lich window you will now have a glyph on the right side showing which one of the correct Requiem mods are needed on this Lich. But we don't know yet which location of the Requiem mod should be in. It could be the first, it could be the second, or the third slot. And by progress of elimination we can begin guessing now by slotting this known Requiem mod into the first slot, as we basically have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the correct spot. And if we fail, we now know that this needs to go into the second or third slot instead. Now for actually figuring out the correct sequence of the Requiem mod, as we now know how to stab and how the Requiem mods work. As said, whenever you stab a Lich, it will show 3 slots corresponding with the 3 Requiem mods positions in your parison, and show red or white depending on if the stab was correct or not. If the icon turns white, that means you have guessed correctly on both the mod and the location. The Requiem mod then needs to stay in this slot. You will get a chance to stab it again, and this is to test the second Requiem slot. If that turns white too, you have guessed correctly again, and you now have 1 more stab. If all 3 stabs are white, you have completed the sequence correctly, and the Lich will flee to a railjack mission where you can then finish it off. If the icon turns red and gets crossed out, that means it was a wrong guess and the mod is not supposed to be in this location. So if you know it's one of the 3 correct mods, but it failed, you now know it can't be in that slot and you will need one of the other 2 mods. When stabbing a Lich, it always goes from the first mod to the second slot to the third slot, always left to right. Inside the Lich inspect window you can also see all your previous guesses and which are right and which were wrong. Personally, I like to stab the Lich the first time as soon as I know the first mod, even if it means leveling it up with a particle guess. Then I wait to stab it again until I know the second mod, and then depending on the luck, I will then wait for all 3 mods. That way I can use each stab to narrow down the correct locations. For example, if I know fast is one of the mods but I get a red hit with it in the first slot, I now know fast has to be in the third or second slot. Then the next time where I also know Voam is a correct mod, I will then put Voam in one location and then I will put fast in the second location. And if that then hits white with the Voam but fast is still red in the second hit, then I now know fast has to go into the third slot no matter what, and that leaves the last mod that we don't know of yet to be in the second slot. It might sound a little bit complicated the first time around, but once you have gone through it a few times, it is actually pretty simple guessing game. It's very much learn as you go system, and it sounds way harder than it actually is. Once you have gotten a handle on the system and know how it works, it's just a matter of repeating the progress of killing the Hounds, unlocking progress towards knowing the correct Requiem mods, and using those to anger the Lich. While angering the Lich and hitting the Lich when you know you have a correct mod, to guess the location of the Requiem mod to narrow down the correct sequence. Depending on how lucky you are with guessing the right order and how many times you stab the Lich, the fight itself also varies in difficulty. Liches rank up from rank 1 to 5, and each rank makes the Lich stronger and higher level. Normally, if you follow the method of stab with 1 mod known, stab with 2 mods known, and lastly 3 mods known, you should have the correct sequence guessed and figured out by rank 4 at worst. So just keep repeating this progress until you have cracked the sequence and finished the Tenet Sisters, sending her off to the final phase face off. Once the Lich sequence has been completed guessed correctly, it will then make its final stand in a Railjack mission, and it's time to hunt it down and claim the Tenet Weapon and your Hound companion you have been working for. I recommend doing this in a public squad if you are having trouble, since it is a Railjack mission with your Lich as a mini boss at the end. That said, doing it solo can be faster if you're confident that you can actually do it, since you only have to deal with your own Sister of Parvos and not everyone else's. Just keep in mind that the further the Lich has ranked up, the stronger it has become, and some Liches can be really annoying to deal with depending on their abilities and status effects. So I recommend going in with a tanky frame and having a hard-hitting weapon that makes things easier. Now lastly, when you kill your Lich, you get two options, either convert or vanquish the Lich. Converting the Lich will let you trade it to other players or use it as a crewmate on your Railjack, but you lose out on the weapon it carries, but you do keep the Ephemeras. That said, converting can net you some plat if you're looking to sell off your Lich. But normally converting is only recommended if you have a very specific reason for it, as most of the time you want to vanquish the Lich, as this is here where you actually get the weapons and everything you have been farming for. So once you vanquish it and you extract from the mission, the Tenet Weapon and the Hound will be delivered to your foundry, and you can then claim it whenever you're ready or leave it there if you don't have a free weapon slot at the moment. Now if you did convert your Lich and you want to sell it, I recommend checking Warframe.market to see what it's going for, but keep in mind that funny names, unusual combos plus the Ephemeras can sometimes give you a nice boost to your sale price. When it comes to trading a Lich, you will need to head to a dojo. From there you can fast travel to the Crimson branch, where you can then request trades for Liches with other players, and this is just like how normal trading would be. Now once you have vanquished your sister and have gotten your Tenet Weapon and also a fully built Hound companion blueprint to your foundry, these are actually tradable between players, though converting the sister will not let you get this as a reward. So that's just also a little heads up, but the Hounds can be traded between players. Now lastly, there's also an alternative way to actually gain Tenet Weapons in Warframe. That will be through Railjack, though completing a sister, depending on how many is in the party, will also reward you with 1 to 4 corrupted hollow keys. These corrupted hollow keys can then be used as Ergo plus to fully buy a built Tenet Weapons. This will require you to have the MR rank required to obtain them. While doing the Tenet Sister Liches, you will not have an MR requirement, but buying them straight up will have a requirement. To gain these corrupted hollow keys that can be used at Ergo Blast in a relay in the parent sequence, you will need to do active Voidstorm missions in the Railjack system, and then you have a chance to gain a number of corrupted hollow keys through that. While you could earn enough to buy a Tenet Weapon through only doing your sisters, it will require 40 hollow keys, which would take you around 10 Tenet Sisters at a full party to acquire so farming the corrupted hollow keys, which should be through the Voidstorms, and will probably require a more decked out Railjack as well. Now with that, you should be able to finish up your sister in Warframe, and hopefully you have gotten all the information you came for. So I hope you found this guide helpful, and if you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help a lot. And if you want more Warframe tips and tricks, check out my other videos as well, and come join us on the Discord to be part of the community. And again, a big thanks as always to everyone supporting on the Patreon and here on YouTube. Thank you very much. Then all I have to say is stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.